The only reason why I stayed in the room is because Dabengwa knew Kenya. So he never called me Brian or Kakori, he always called me Kenya. Partly because my wife and his daughters were friends. I had a close relationship politically with him that started off in sharp differences. I know some of you were there when we were at the Students' Union in the early 90s, when he was Minister of Home Affairs. And later on, many of you were there when him, myself, Ibo Mandaza, and a few people were trying to warn Zimbabweans that there was either a coup or catastrophe coming, and we started talking about the National Transitional Authority, and a lot of clever Zimbabweans told us it was not yet the moment. But Mr. Dabengwa, Comrade Dabengwa, Commander Dabengwa knew, as a former intelligence supremo, he knew, he could tell the earth was shifting. But you know, we're so clever in Zimbabwe, we can hold opinions so strong about things so petty that we have entered a Premier League of pettiness. I talked a lot to Joshua Nkomo, I talked a lot to Msika and others who were in ZAPU. The one thing that ZAPU was not, and nobody who ZAPU should ever accept, it was not a tribal party. ZAPU's vice president was Joseph Mshore Chinamani. Its deputy secretary general was Ariston Chambati. Its information and publicity secretary was William Saru. Its youth secretary was Joseph Mskabanu. And before, it was Daniel Matzimbamutu. What made anyone think that ZAPU was a Matabeleland party is when you accept the enemy's redefinition of your mandate. Yes. You reduce yourself from the ideological power of which you started. It was a belief in that early nationalist movement that anyone can lead irrespective of his creed, his surname, her surname, or where she comes from. And if we are to be true to Tumiso Dabengwa tried to unite. He even, in the last election, endorsed somebody much younger than him, and much against the calculation of many. In 1979, when Komo and Mugabe, Chirau, Zorewa and Koweto, Tumiso was talking to the military people, trying to fashion a ceasefire. Tumiso understood one thing, that in order to lead, you have to be inclusive and to manage diversity. Because diversity is not a strength. But in our country, one man, Robert Mugabe, had used diversity to divide us. And we cannot celebrate the life of Tumiso Dabengwa and allow the divisionism of Robert Mugabe to be part of that narrative. Gukurahundi was not just a crime against the people of Matabeleland. Gukurahundi was a crime against the very notion of patriotic front, of being Zimbabwean, of being human, and of being God-fearing. So colleagues, I just wanted to tell you 4 things, then I'll sit down quickly about what Tumiso Dabengwa was passionate about. Number 1 is family, and I'm glad that Tembi you were here. Tumiso often talked about his family, at least if you cared to sit and listen to him beyond the grand politics. Number 2, Tumiso was obsessed about development, not just the water project. Tumiso was obsessed about the development of young persons from across Zimbabwe, and in particular Matabeleland, about them getting the proper schooling, becoming the engineers he always talked about, becoming the world leaders. Number 3, Tumiso was obsessed about youth, and the people from the foundation have talked about. Number 4, he wanted there to be peace in the country. He kept on saying to me, Mkwenyan, until we get some form of stability, there is no one who has sufficient authority and legitimacy to run this country and take it to the stage we must get to in order to develop. Number 4, Tumiso, 5, Tumiso was obsessed about justice. The issue of Gukurahundi was not because he had been a victim. The issue of Gukurahundi was very dear to his heart, because he kept on saying to me, we must never allow any other ruler to ever think that it is okay to treat people, to do injustice on the basis of ethnic or any other difference. And the reason why there must be justice for Gukurahundi is the same people who did Gukurahundi, did the violence in 1985, did the violence in 2000, did the violence in 2008. Impunity becomes a grain in a nation. The life of Tumiso Dabengwa is about how to build a nation on the same ideals that his comrades in the original ZAPU or NDP had. If we are to celebrate the life of Tumiso Dabengwa, my friends, we must ask the question, how do we build a version of our nation and of Africa different from the version that Mugabe and those who constructed patriotism based on hate built? If we don't do that, we're not celebrating Tumiso Dabengwa. We're celebrating our own anger. We're celebrating our own fears. Tumiso Dabengwa had an ideological frame, and that ideological frame was about the struggle of the working class, the struggle of the peasantry against the few who have and who continue to loot. If we are to celebrate him, let's remember that what unites us in this struggle to liberate our country and Africa is the idea that no African woman or child should ever go without. The original symbol of ZAPU was isocha eliphethe umntwana. Before he died, ngathi kuye baba Dabengwa, isocha libuyele ukuyaphatha abantwana, not ukubashaya, not ukubarepa, nyabo.